Okay, well, welcome everybody to the fourth meeting of the Toronto branch of the Greater Church of Lucifer. We just did, for the people who are viewing this on YouTube, we just did a ceremony of illumination for some of the members here, became official members. We're going to do something a little bit different this time. Instead of having a couple prepared talks from some of the members, instead this time I'm going to be doing a question and answer session. So anybody who has any questions about the Greater Church of Lucifer or anything related, I can give my personal opinion, and we can have a discussion as well. What I say, it isn't just what goes. This is about sharing and about having a discussion and learning from one another. Usually we would have a couple prepared talks from members. Once in a while it would be me doing it, but not every time. I'm not a preacher. I'm more just, a facilitator role here. So, we could get started if there's any questions that we want to discuss.
Anybody else have questions?
Aaron?
I have this question. I always have this question. Why is it that when you go in the world in public, people see the image of an inverted pentagram, they always get they always go to the thinking that it's evil. And when you really discover what it is, it's not evil. It's actually a balance of everything. When you really discover what the pentagram is and the inverted one. But when you think the public views it as something that's corrupt or chaotic.
I think that the public views the inverted pentagram as a symbol of evil because they've been told that it's a symbol of evil, and it's as simple as that. And they haven't looked further. They haven't looked into it. They just accepted the fact that they've just accepted this information that's been told to them that the inverted pentagram is evil. Simple as that. They don't. That satisfied them, and they didn't look further beyond that. That's it.
I like to think of the pentagram like it's like a wheel of balance. Like each side is an element, and if one side is missing, it's unbalanced. So if one part of the pentagram is missing, you have a very unbalanced shape. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like a square. If you have a line missing from a square, it's not a square. It's just it's just like an incomplete square. It's like a semicircle, half a circle, and then the circle is the full thing, right? So I find with the pentagram, if there's a side missing, that means something's off. So that's how I use the pentagram. In terms of the missing triangles. I'm not sure how you view the pentagram itself.
The way I view the pentagram is, I like to look at it as a symbol that represents the five elements. I view it as a symbol that represents the quintessence. There's a lot of different things about the pentagram. The inverted pentagram, I like to think of it as the subtle, showing forth from the physical. The vehicle that is us. Shining forth the subtle aspects, the non-physical stuff, the personality coming forth in the individual. What do you think, Sean?
One thought. I feel that one of the other reasons why the pentagram may be viewed negatively when it's inverted is simply it echoes the idea of the crucifix or the cross, right? When you see an upside-down cross, ooh, Satan! I think it's a very similar kind of mentality, and I think you're also quite right that people are just fed the information, then they stop thinking about it. It's kind of like if you're looking at a tree, and someone says, well, that's an elm tree. Well, okay, it's an elm tree, and you walk away and you give it no more attention, and maybe you don't notice the individual or particular things about that particular elm tree. It's just you put a label on it and you can walk away and not think about it anymore. I think it's the same kind of thing. Also, for me, when you see a traditional one-point upright pentacle or pentagram, it tends to for me, it tends to symbolize spirit over the elements. And if you see an inverted pentagram, it's drawing spirit to matter, which certainly to me isn't an evil or negative thing. It's just a different outlook.
Yeah, definitely. And some people, like some authors, have written that the inverted pentagram is putting matter above spirit, is making matter more important than spirit. And so that's why some people have viewed it as evil as well, because that's the reverse of the natural order of God being above everything and controlling and powerful, and us being down here lowly earthly beings. It's an inversion of that natural order that a lot of people believe in.
But even that kind of presupposes that there's a division or duality between matter and spirit, and not everyone holds that model to be true.
Yeah, definitely. Does anybody else have any opinions about it?
I was going to put in something else on it. Actually, I joined this group on Facebook, so it's like a tarot group, and this guy made a comment that one time he did a reading, and the lady asked to remove all the pentacles from the deck because all pentacles are evil. But then when I thought of that, I'm like, but no, you have an unbalanced deck. The zodiac's unbalanced. The whole zodiac is unbalanced, and the deck of cards is unbalanced. How are you gonna get like a proper reading if all the earth cards are missing? So now you have no stability, no foundation, none of that stuff. All you have is like thoughts everywhere, emotions, and like spontaneity.
Flighty.
It's like no, you have like there's no foundation. Everything's moving now. So then now that makes everything unbalanced.
Well, there are some tarot decks which are just designed with the major arcana, and they don't use the minor arcana at all.
But if you're going to use the minor arcana, you should use them.
You should use the whole thing.
The whole thing.
You shouldn't really pick and choose. Kind of throwing out the baby with the bathwater otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking you're taking out all the pentacles, so you're even taking out the major arcana pentacles too.
Any
So you're
card that has
taking
a
out
pentacle,
everything that's
yeah.
earth.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
really unbalanced.
So you're left with about 12 cards?
If I were to take out any of the suits, it would be the swords. That's what I don't like.
That's what you need to focus on.
I know.
And also, before you go on to the next question, it also kind of speaks to the whole demonizing of the flesh, the physical. In a lot of mainstream religions and the mysticism attached to those religions, a lot of times the flesh is considered sinful or impure, and the desires of the flesh, the natural instinctual things that we have are considered to be evil, and there's a lot of people that believe it in that, but I think that's completely bizarre.
Yeah.
It's a way to control people, really.
Yeah.
You set up an impossible standard, and then when people aren't able to live up to that impossible standard, they feel guilt and shame. And then you give them an outlet to release that feeling and feel good about themselves, that from a feeling that they should never have been programmed to feel in the first place.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the fashion industry, where they set up impossible standards to meet of physical appearance and things like that, even to the point of photoshopping, literally impossible standards to meet. That even the people in the pictures don't meet those standards, and then they sell you the products that they tell you will allow you to meet these standards, but it's never-ending cycle of shame and guilt and
it's all about money.
Yeah, it's all about money. It's all about creating a need, and then supplying the relief from that feeling.
Yeah, it's like, you got to go to church and you got to give to the church, and then your guilt will be paid for.
Yeah. You're creating bad feelings and then creating a way for that people to relieve themselves of those bad feelings.
Creating a need to keep coming back to get absolved.
Yeah.
Also known as hook 'em when they're young.
Yeah.
Not that right.
And also the media is like the biggest hypnotist. The media is very great at hypnotizing people and saying, this is what you need to do, and if you don't do it, you don't fit in or you won't receive these benefits. So they're very good at hypnotizing people's mind to think that way.
Yeah, and I would even say literally hypnotized, because they actually studied the way that the mind works and all of the different tricks. We know that the brain goes through different, has different predominant brainwave frequencies that we can kind of associate with states of consciousness. And when we're watching television, we enter into a light trance state that makes us more suggestible.
Yeah.
And when you're eating, you do too. And how many people sit in front of the TV and watch TV and eat? It's a double whammy.
Or when you walk into a casino, the way the machines make the bright lights and the flickering lights and the sounds, that's all based in solid psychology.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They've studied it. They've turned it into a science, literally.
In some satanic groups and some like Setian groups, they have a division of magic. They talk about greater magic and lesser magic.
Yeah.
And greater magic is more like what we did earlier with the ceremonies and symbolic psychodrama and things like that, where you're using symbols to impact yourself, to program yourself, and to transform yourself in a way that you want to be transformed. Whereas lesser black magic is almost like turning those same techniques against other people, to be able to manipulate others into having the types of thoughts and feelings that you want them to. Essentially, lesser black magic is marketing. It's almost the same thing, or you might as well not even make a distinction.
Actually, I always thought higher magic was like tapping directly into the energy, into the life force energies, like almost like spell casting, to get the energy, to get you, draw to you what you want or cast out what you don't want. And lesser magic is using mundane ways, like psychology, to do the same thing.
Kind of, yeah.
So lesser magic is kind of like a very unethical part of magic.
Not necessarily.
Using it to do what you want.
Well,
not necessarily.
It can be used in what people would consider an unethical manner, but things like neuro-linguistic programming and conversational hypnosis, for example, it can actually just be used as a means to have more efficient communication with other people.
Yeah.
Better way to get your ideas across to other people so they understand it better. And it doesn't have to be a manipulative thing.
Depends on the intent, right?
Yeah, it depends on the intent.
Well, selling your ideas to everybody is always kind of a manipulative thing, but is it morally wrong to, go and state your case on an idea that you have an opinion on, like, for instance, activism kind of thing? If you're coming out as an animal activist, you're like they used images of animals being tortured to manipulate people on an emotional level, but they're not really doing it for an evil reason.
Or anti-smoking campaigns. You can use these, like you can put up the image that smokers are ugly and that's nasty and sexy people don't smoke kind of thing, and you get the kids to see that. Then that's using lesser magic. Using these marketing and psychologically manipulative techniques can also be used for very good purposes, like getting the kids at a young age not to smoke or do drugs. So lesser magic, it depends on the intention behind it.
Well, yeah, but some could also argue that anytime you're trying to impose your will on someone else, that's not good.
Yeah.
So whether your intentions are good or not, it could be viewed as hostile or
But
negative.
then, never could you write a book or, be an artist if you want to have your will influence people.
Exactly.
One of those things that's
is it wrong to try and convince other people of your opinion, to to share your idea with people in the hopes that they'll adopt the ideas that you have or understand the ideas you have? No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just how we interact.
No, but if you make them believe that what they're doing naturally is wrong, which, like, for example, like trying to get someone to stop smoking, well, again, it might be a positive thing because, yes, if you quit smoking, it's healthy, but you are kind of trying to change their will and abide it to your own. It's kind of a gray area at best, I would have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when do you draw a line at simple marketing and manipulation? Because art is also subliminal. When an artist paints a painting and he wants a message to get through, he's not only using obvious symbolism, he's using a lot of subliminal symbolism, like the color he uses in his painting, and are the shapes soft or are they hard, or so he's still trying to provoke an emotional response. So where do we draw a line where something becomes not just where's convincing versus manipulation?
That's hard and fast. There's no solid line. It's a blurry area
so.
that you can start to enter into.
Yes.
But sometimes there is a point where it's very clear that you've gone past that gray area and you're into the
like if you kidnap someone,
manipulation type. Yeah.
If you kidnap someone and use waterboarding techniques, then you've gone beyond the gray. So it's tough.
I kind of get what Steve is saying, because I think in paganism, before you perform healing magic, you must first seek the permission of the person who is dying or who needs healing to be healed, or else it's considered unethical. So even though you think it's a good thing, they might not want it. Like, say the person wants to die, and you want to heal them, or the sister or the daughter wants them to be healed. Even though it's a good act, that's not what they want. So then it ends up being something not good, even though the intention is good.
Well, it's imposing your will on someone else, right? Like Sean was saying. At some point you're imposing your will on another person, and that's not necessarily a good thing. You wouldn't want somebody to impose their will on you.
Yeah. And sometimes it's inescapable. I mean, to maintain your will, sometimes you have to go against somebody else's will.
That's interesting.
Day-to-day life, there's no way of living around it.
I remember I was told in paganism the way to handle a request is to do the healing energy, but put a caveat in there that this energy will only work if the person is spiritually wanting this.
Yeah.
A magical disclaimer.
Yeah, that's the disclaimer, and if not, then let the healing energy go to someone who does want it.
They say you can send energy, but you can't do a healing spell. You can send them positive energy and stuff like that.
Yeah, you just put in a disclaimer.
To help them, but you can't physically do a healing spell because you don't know if that's what they want.
Yeah, you just say it'll go to them if they want it, and if not, let it go to someone who desires it.
They'll send it back, just like when you send a mail. If they don't want it, they
Return
send
to sender.
back the packet.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of reminds me of it's kind of related, where a lot of times that you'll get somebody like, well, it happens to me on YouTube a lot, where somebody's like, "I'll pray for you," I'll pray for you that Jesus will show you the light, and that you'll accept Jesus into your heart, and you'll be saved. And the way that I usually respond to that is to understand that they're probably coming from a good place with that.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, thank you for the prayers. I'll reciprocate by doing my equivalent for you. I'll do a ritual so that Lucifer will show you the light and liberate you from your delusions and false ideas and mental bonds.
And what do they usually say?
They usually say, please don't. And I say, well, why do you think it's okay for you to pray for me, but I can't do the same or the equivalent to you?
With good intentions.
Why do you feel that that's okay for you to do that, but it's not okay, you don't want me to do that for you?
What did they say?
They usually don't reply. They just say, or if they do reply, they repeat, please don't.
I kind of have an idea why they say no, because in their head they're thinking that your prayers are coming from a godly source, so then they rather not receive the prayer because it's coming from some dark place. So I think that's the theory they're working off.
But it's the same. It's the same for me. Like I don't want them to pray to Jesus for Jesus to liberate me from my Luciferian philosophy.
You want to be liberated from your freedom.
Tell me, get liberate my freedom. I want to go into slavery. I want to go into slavery. Please pray that I go into slavery.
But most of the time when Christians offer to pray for me, it's usually for something that's nothing to do with that. And so I'll be like, if it's okay if I'm praying for something good to happen to me, because I don't like to draw a distinction between any kind of spiritual source. Like for one person, it might be Jesus who they're praying to, and to another person. Like I just
take it for what it's worth. You know,
really.
they have a good intention with that, and you know, take it for what it's intended to be. You know, it's intended to be a good thing, and you know, just accept that. You know, that's the way that they do it. But when it comes to praying to liberate you from your, you know, what they think is slavery to Satan, or delusion by Satan, you know, that's when I feel like, you know, the cuffs, you know, the cuffs come off or whatever.
Yeah, but even then, they're still coming from a good place because they're trying to rescue you from something bad in their eyes.
It might come from a good place, but a lot of times it sounds like it's kind of passive-aggressive to me.
Yes.
And I think that, like, again, not in all cases, but I think in a fair number.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely agree. I think that a big portion of it is very passive-aggressive. I usually like to pretend to assume that it's coming from a good place.
Yeah. That would embarrass them a little bit.
Yeah.
I like to say Christianity is like a gym. You see the guys that stand out at the gym to try to sell your membership to come in, right? So the Christian church is kind of like a gym, right? They're trying to see how many members they can accumulate and get going. So church is a business. So then once they get you in, they kind of pull you off to the side. No, he's in. Let's get the other guy.
I think
so they
there's
start
so many,
accumulating all these people in. Until they don't really treat you how they were treating you at the first, right?
Yeah, but corporations do the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're not wearing these kind of jeans, then you're in the out group, and you should be, and shame on you for having these uncool jeans. And then what they do is they get other people, brainwash these corporations to make fun of you if you don't wear the right clothes or the right brand of whatever.
But there's
and
so
the
many
church is the same way.
denominations of Christianity these days that like one Christian is like totally different from a different kind. They have totally different ideas about what they want to accomplish with it, or some Christians who have very good intentions, and like a lot of the charitable organizations in the city which are Christian based are doing something good, but then there are the other ones that are they have the snake. So what are those?
But that also brings up the classic thought experiment, the philosophical thought experiment of what's more virtuous? Somebody who goes and feeds the hungry because they're afraid of going to hell and they want to get into heaven because they're told to do it and they're afraid to not do it, or the person who doesn't believe in any of that and they go do it because they want to feed hungry people.
But I think that I don't think that it's necessarily a fear of hell that motivates a lot of Christians to do charitable acts. I think it does.
I think it is a major influence of why a lot of Christians do charitable work is because they feel like they're obligated to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is a major influencer. I think with a lot of Christians.
But no matter what kind of Christianity is out there, the roots of it is based in shame. Someone had to die to get rid of your sins.
Yeah, and the other
so
thing
it's
too
based
is
in shame.
On the other side of things, if you're the hungry person, it doesn't really matter. You're still getting the food either way, But what if there's an ulterior motive of trying to get you into the church too? Then that's
that's a lot
devious, and that happens a lot of times in third world countries.
Yeah, they're very exploitive.
Right.
Yeah. There was a time that it was called the Gospel of Rice. That a lot of missionaries, they were instructed by their religious leaders to go to do missions with rice, kidney beans, corn, because according to the temptations of Jesus, one of the temptations was when he was hungry, and he was the only one who stood. Then they said the rest of the world, it doesn't matter what situation they are, if they are hungry. Because of that, they will accept anything to satisfy their hunger. That's why they call it the Gospel of Rice, to go to all those third world countries, Africa, Latin America, to the poor communities, go there, establish a little place, start giving them food, this and that, and start preaching them the gospel. And they start making churches. You can make a church in a week, very fast. You know, because they know that when somebody's hungry, he will do whatever it takes to survive. Yeah. And then it's a very hypocritical, you know, a hypocrite way of giving. Okay, I will give you this. Yeah. But like fishing, like fishing. Yeah, I am putting this just to kill, and that's not a very real way of people. It's not like here, for example. You're not giving me nothing, you know. You're not giving me not even nothing to.
Well, I was thinking of bringing Timbits, but I forgot. I actually meant to bring Timbits.
I hope you understand what I mean.
But
that's what it was.
Not because I want anything out of you.
No, I'm just making a point, and that's what they do, you know. But the people really, if you see them, they go there. That's why they go to the churches. They're not real believers. They're just a bunch of Christians doing whatever they want. They just go to church. They do the 1-2 hours singing and doing whatever. In any kind of Catholic Christian church, after they leave, they are thinking leaving to go and practice anything that somebody else, and even worse than Satanist people.
Yeah, but
worse things that Satanist.
But a lot of them are also counting that, no, those people might not be able to give money, but if you educate their kids and their kids go out and get a job, they're counting on the second generation feeling they owe. And they suck that more affluent second generation into the church. And that's what they did with the Koreans, the Pentecostals. That's what happened with the Koreans, like the first generation. They didn't have money, but their kids did. And their kids felt they needed to continue the loyalty.
And it's not all about money anyways. It's about
power.
Human resources.
Yeah, power, yeah. Yeah, they want votes to get their agenda across in the government and exercise power, which in a way is still trying to, because when you control the government, you also control money. And when you control money, you can do what you want.
Well, I mean, even with us, us banding together, it gives us more influence. We can exert a greater influence if there's a bunch of us together. What's the point of a group? Is to, there's a lot of different reasons to have a group. One of those reasons is because it opens up possibilities of things that you can accomplish that you couldn't accomplish as an individual. So, but yeah, getting them into that in an underhanded way, that's the difference, I think. That's the big difference.
And all of that, they're telling these people to obey without question. They're not telling these people, think for yourselves, explore.
Yeah.
No, obey. It's always about.
Well, a lot of the missions in Toronto, they don't do anything to try to convert people at all. Because I used to volunteer for St. Stephen's, which is a soup kitchen, and a lot of those people there are drug addicts, and
but in a way, they're still doing it.
Lifestyles, and all the organization does is provide services for them for free.
But they're doing it for public image, and they're also hoping that people will question and say, "Oh, who's giving us this free soup? I'd like to know more about them," and then they get sucked in that way. So just because they don't do it overtly doesn't mean that isn't their intentions.
There's something called reciprocation. It's a marketing term, even, or sales term. If you give somebody something free, they feel like they owe you now.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're more likely to get something out of them if you've given them something in the first place. Aaron?
I was going to say also that people don't realize the difference between Christianity and Luciferianism. One is kind of like, once you get into Christian church, you're automatically people's bitch, pretty much.
They what?
Yeah, you it's like you automatically become their bitch. You gotta do what they say. You gotta like come every day, because like if you miss a day of church, then like, oh, why didn't you come last week? Oh, I noticed this, and then there's all these like obligations, so it becomes very stressful and committal kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
whereas this, it isn't on that level.
Yeah, it's not fear-based.
Tied down, and you have to do this. You're not
I'm not going to be gossiping with you guys if one of the other people doesn't show up or.
Yeah, exactly.
What if we ask nicely though?
It's like, yeah, because a lot of religions are fear-based. If you don't do what they tell you to do, you get into a bad afterlife, or you get bad luck, or
Instead of actually burning people at the stake, they just say God's going to burn you,
or you're going to get bad luck in your life.
Get burned,
or God's not going to smile on you, and you're going to get bad luck, and you're going to influenced by bad things. Like they have very clever ways of doing this. So they use guilt, shame, and fear. And any religion that does that, I don't care how nice they are on the outside or how many soup kitchens they open, it's very bad. Because these are the very negative things to base your spirituality on.
Yeah.
Well, Wicca has the threefold law.
They make it seem like a very pure building, a place where nothing evil or nothing desire happens. Like I have an aunt that always tries to invite me to church, and and then I ask, what's the difference between a strip club and a church? There's no difference, because whores go to church, whores go to the strip club. It doesn't really matter. Like they after they sin, they go there. I call it religious recycling, because they go to church, they repent, they do the sin all over again. They repent, they do the sin all over. So it's like they keep recycling stuff. Yeah. They indulge and then they ask for forgiveness. It's like a whole recycling thing going on.
Yeah, for something that you shouldn't feel shame for in the beginning.
Yeah. And why do it?
I looked through a Playgirl book.
I wanted to share a little experience that I had with a co-worker. He was a Muslim guy. I didn't know. And I told him, oh, you have to stay Friday until 3 o'clock, we are very busy. He stood. Then the next Friday, I asked him the same. Then the third Friday, he started crying. And I said, what is going on with you? He said, because I'm not a Muslim anymore. He said, why? Because I just failed 2 Fridays of going to the mosque and pray. I said, what? That's why you are not, the real ones, like me, I am a real one. He said, if we miss 2 Fridays of not going to the mosque at noon to pray and do whatever we want to do, we are no longer the imam there, the priest, I don't know how they call them. He will consider us like pagans, like nothing. What about, then I told him, what about all these co-workers here? They always go and they are Muslim and things like that. I said, don't worry. You just talk with them. He was new in the country. He had just 2 weeks. And then he talked to them, and then he involved in the same movement. It's the same with religion. That's why in here I am not worried about that, because in religion, when you joined any Christian or any of those groups, of course, you join them, you have to go according to the rules and things like that. Here is that. It's freedom of that. That's what I feel. I feel good. We are free. That's why we are new, and I like this new moon. We are new. We left all that burden the religion had. We don't have it anymore here. That's
Is that guy okay now? At least.
Oh yeah.
So he's okay that
he was left of that burden that he had.
Well, that's good, because that's horrible to feel like you are kicked out of a community because you had to work. I mean, for us, your family comes first. If you need to work, don't don't feel bad for not coming to a meeting. Certainly. Or even if you just don't feel like it, just don't come. If you feel like staying at home and lying on the couch and watching Netflix, you know, just do that.
Enjoy life.
Because yeah, it's your life. I'm not gonna, you know, I'll be like, you know, maybe I might send you a message and say, oh, too bad, I was hoping to see you, but yeah, I'll see you another time. You know, that's it.
Or you might want to make sure the person's okay.
Yeah.
If they used to come all the time, suddenly they stop, you know, they could be sick or something. Then you're just concerned, but...
Yeah, but that's not because I'm trying to make them feel bad for not coming. At all.
I think that's also common with Jehovah's Witnesses. They have that cutoff thing that if you don't do a certain thing, they pretty much cut you out.
Oh, shunning. Yeah, that's another tool.
I have a friend.
Shunning.
He wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, but he was Christian, and apparently they told him not to come back because he told a couple of members that he was an angel sent from God, and then he did some sexual stuff with somebody in the church, so they just cut him off like that. Instead of forgiving, since that's the
Sounds like there's more to that story.
Yeah, there probably is more there. But he told them that he was an angel from God and he had a message from God, and they thought that was blasphemy, and they just cut him off instead of forgiving him.
But you know, as much as we like to, you know, as much as we like to talk about this kind of thing and say, oh, well, we don't do that, or we don't do that, you know, some people get a lot out of it, and, you know, good for them, you know, if that's what gets you off, you know, or if that's what makes you feel comfortable and safe, that you're probably not, you know, the type of person that would be into the stuff that we're into.
No.
You know, so if that's what your thing is, and that's what your thing is, and go for it, you know.
As long as you're not interfering with human rights or trying to get the government to do so.
It does bother me when I see people being manipulated by fear, shame, and guilt. But, you know, people got to make their own decisions in life.
If they're signing up for it willingly, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
And it would be harmful for you to try and influence them otherwise anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Fully agree.
I think the bigger danger is, and it's as much for people in our kind of situation as any other Christian, avoid elitism. As soon as you start thinking, I'm better than everyone else because I got it figured out, that's when you got a problem. And that's when you're going to start looking at other people and being very judgmental and negative towards their needs. And as you said, if someone's getting something meaningful out of something, even if you think it's silly, well, they're getting something meaningful out of it. It doesn't matter to you. Move on. It's all good.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of people who were addicts of various types of addict that weren't able to they were out of control, and they needed someone else outside of themselves to exert that control, or you know, for them to actually get better.
They needed a father figure to scare them straight.
You know, if that's what you need, you know, use it. Use what works, you know. And I don't begrudge anybody that, you know, if that's what works for you, then go for it. And, you know, a lot of us, sometimes when we get really into the stuff that we're into now, a lot of times we forget where we came from, you know. I mean, not everybody was raised in one of these large, organized, dogmatic religions, but a lot of us were, you know, and a lot of times, because we were, sometimes that causes us to feel like resentment towards it even more sometimes. But you gotta kind of remember where you came from, you know. I was very into Catholicism when I was young, and it served a purpose for me at the time, and I was raised within that. Eventually I started questioning more and more, you know, and realizing that it wasn't for me, but not everybody has come to that conclusion, and maybe they never will. And why begrudge that of them?